Okay, on to some Britney Spears news that has broken over the last couple of days, and that is the fact that she has sold her entire music catalogue to an independent music publisher called Primary Wave for around $146 million. That's in pounds, 200 million apparently. We'll put it into your own currency.
Yeah.
A huge amount of money. But when I looked at that, I thought...
Not enough.
Yeah. I thought, can you put a price on the Britney Spears back catalogue of music? Like all the incredible songs, all the pop hits, all the chart-topping albums.
Yeah.
Like she's one of the most successful artists of all time. And not just like pop artists, female artists, just artists and music makers of all time. And to sell her music catalogue, to sell all the rights to it, obviously she got a huge amount of money. But it's a pretty big day in the music industry.
And I don't think it was enough.
Yeah, no, I'm going to go out on a limb and say
I don't even think
it's
that's a hot
enough.
take. I don't think that anyone should be giving her that little for the catalogue that she has.
Well, I also think maybe that should have been the cost of Baby One More Time, but not all of them.
Yes.
So Primary Wave, who bought it, are obviously thinking that they're maybe just going to lay low because they have not been responding to any requests to comment. Obviously, they're getting an influx of questions from media. Also, Britney Spears hasn't spoken on it.
Because she allegedly sold it like the end of last year, right? But it's just coming out now.
Yeah, like something about like the company reports being made public.
Yeah, cool.
You know how that stuff always resurfaces. Apparently, though, this same company has also acquired the rights to Prince and Whitney Houston. So really in the music buying business.
Okay. Is it, I mean, it obviously is profitable, but then also like, okay, so Britney, and we'll get into this, like probably not going to release any new music.
I don't think
but
so. And she's also said it too.
She's said it. When someone does, like say like Justin Bieber sold his music back catalogue, are you also selling the rights to your future? No, you're just selling the rights to the music that you have previously released.
Yes. So it's not like, no, I'm sure she could. I mean, obviously we don't know the exact ins and outs of this contract. From what I understand from selling your back catalogue is that you are selling the rights to that music, you're selling the usage, you're selling like who can re-record it, who can use it for like movies and TV shows, and like who can use the lyrics, and who can even use like if you've copyrighted like the name and all that. So basically you sell the entire thing. It doesn't mean that you can't go and make new music. It just means that I think in some cases it also means that you would have to like pay to perform your own songs if you're getting paid for it in a copyright thing, but you can just sing it live. It's a whole backstory.
Because that was a part of the thing. I remember when Taylor Swift won, was it I don't know if they call it the Vanguard Award at MTV.
No,
is that
Vanguard
what they
Award,
call
that's
it?
it, yeah.
But when she went to do her performance, part of the issue was that they didn't want to let her perform because Scooter Braun had obviously like ownership of her music, her past catalogue. They didn't want her to perform parts of her songs without her either like paying for it or negotiating with them over it.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's crazy.
It's it's your song, but you turn over the rights to it. So now if Britney Spears wanted to go and do a world tour or anything like that or perform any of her hits, she would have to, I'm assuming, pay usage rights or get permission. So, which is again why Taylor Swift did the whole re-recording to be able to own her music again. I can't see Britney Spears doing that. But also she's been really open about the fact that she's done with music. She doesn't want to perform anymore. She doesn't want to tour.
She said she'd never perform again in the US, right? At the very least.
Fair enough. Like if I could have one thing, it would be to see Britney Spears like live in concert. But Britney Spears, not when she was being like held prisoner in that Las Vegas residency and like pushed out on stage, like out of her mind, didn't know where she was. This is all in her own words now, hearing as someone who devoured her audiobook read by Michelle Williams. I'm very across the situation. But like, I mean, peak Britney when she was like choosing to be there and like one of the greatest performers of all time. But now I think she's just been like so broken by the industry, so broken by like her family and her personal life, so broken by being in that conservatorship for over a decade that I think when people, and we've talked about this before, when she came out of the conservatorship, a lot of people thought it would be kind of like a fairy tale, like a princess being let out of a castle, and that a switch would flip and she would just go back to being the old Britney Spears, and she'd be on stage touring, and she'd be like posting a very like Instagram friendly life, and she'd be doing press tours and things. And a lot of people kind of, I think, have sort of dropped away from the Free Britney Spears cause now, because the reality of what they saw, which is her locked up in her home a lot, posting like rambling videos or having like big fights with her family, with her sister Jamie Lee, and also with her ex-husband Kevin Federline, who released a book about her. It's been a very messy situation. And so when this situation came to a head of people finding out that she sold her music catalog, it was kind of like this final nail in the coffin of like, we're not going to see Britney Spears again.
Yeah. And I mean, I would love nothing more, obviously, than to have had the chance to go see Britney Spears perform, like in the, you know, early 2000s or late 90s, like when it was still, I guess, to an extent, her own creative direction and decision to be doing it. But I also just now would love nothing more than to see Britney like take this money and like disappear a bit and like live a life or figure out how she wants to live her life.
Yeah.
Like I just think, like you said, it obviously dropped off a bit where people thought she was just going to suddenly be like, quote unquote, the old Britney again after being in a conservatorship. And it's like, I think people maybe discounted how damaging the last 20 years of her life was to her. And now I just want to see her happy or not see her. Like just let the girl be happy and run away.
Not seeing her would be the dream. And I say that as a fan because I think one of the saddest things about this whole Britney Spears like career moment where we find ourselves in and where we find her selling her music and not touring is that she has given up coming across from how she speaks. It feels like she's given up a lot of the fame, the performance, the cachet of her name for privacy. But because she's done that, now she's getting less privacy than she had before, because in the same last 2 weeks this information has come out about she's selling her music, that she's made this deal, she's taken this money. She's also being followed by paparazzi so much. There's photos of her driving in her car and like answering the phone and doing other things that could be perceived as illegal, and so those are being blown up and people are saying like now she's gone off the rails again, she's a danger to herself, because they're pulling all of these past examples of when she was like when she first started going through that public breakdown and she jumped in the car with her son on her lap, which she later said she only did because she was like fearing for his safety because she was getting chased by paparazzi. Yeah. But there were videos at the time of her like driving erratically. Again, I'm not excusing her behavior because obviously that's not great, but she was being followed by like cars full of men screaming at her with their cameras. So,
and I think the thing that like obviously everyone used to see and still now would be seeing with this content is like close-up imagery, right? They're seeing a close-up photo of Britney in a car. It's a close-up of her looking a certain way. What they're not showing you is the zoomed out picture of like at that point in time when it first all started to happen for her, she would be followed by hundreds of paps and then crazy fans. It's like you couldn't drive a car. There are so many clips of famous people absolutely like losing it at paparazzi. Yeah. Because their lives are being put in danger, because it is a safety risk to them. And it seems like it's coming back around for her again where people are treating her like this, where it's like this zoo animal mentality of like more paps following her because they can get a headline out of it, and then that spirals and obviously makes her feel unsafe, and then she might do things that people are like, oh, it's illegal, she touched her phone. Like I don't know, I just am like, it's very concerning to me to be heading back to that point and for people to still have no like understanding or literacy around it. Like why do we think she might be looking scared or feeling scared in public if she's being followed by hundreds of people? Of course she is.
Yeah, and she keeps putting videos out on her Instagram, which I know when she was in the conservatorship, people thought she was being like forced to put the videos out, or that she was trying to send secret signals to people to help her escape, because there was that whole thing like all the fan forums from the Save Britney would say things like, was it forced to put them out? Is it even yellow if you need help? And then like later on she wears yellow. It's all these things that like obviously that could have been like a coincidence, but people really built up this thing. But now they're seeing the videos of her just in her home still acting a little erratically, and it's like a lot of that fandom has turned against her. And there's a weird, sometimes when a musician sells their back catalogue, it is kind of seen like a bit of a celebration because they get this huge windfall of money and they're very successful and it's this whole thing. But the last time we sort of saw fans be like quite devastated by it, so like a musician selling their back catalogue, was, as you were saying before, Justin Bieber selling his music, because again we don't 100% know, but there were a lot of financial records that came out that because he had not gone on that big worldwide tour, and because maybe he had spent crazy when he was a kid, I would have done the same thing if I was 16 and a multimillionaire, that he had got himself into such a huge amount of debt that if he had waited longer, his music would have been worth more, but he had to sell it now in order to like keep his head above water. Millionaire water, not normal
millionaire water. But the lifestyle they lead in order to be comfortable.
The lifestyle of which they have become accustomed.
Yes, yeah. And I mean, like, obviously a lot of people have done it. Like Springsteen sold his for $500 million in 2021. A lot of people do it. But yeah, it's when it seems like it's out of an act of desperation that I think fans get upset, which is probably why there's been a reaction to Britney, because it feels like something she could be doing, and we don't obviously know because she hasn't told us. Yeah. But it seems like something she might be doing out of desperation for needing money to like fund being alive and safe and all of those things. And that's sad.
And that's the hard thing with this story about her selling her music and the tabloid stories around her at the moment running side by side is that you've got this story that she sold her music and whether it was worth the amount like that, I guess it's up to her business managers to look into. But at the same time, videos and photos of her, like people saying she's acting erratically, a lot of sources are talking to tabloids like the Daily Mail. So take that with a pinch of salt. But they are saying like they're saying she's hit rock bottom. She doesn't know what she's doing. This is an act of desperation. Things are really bad. Her mental health is terrible. She's in danger. Like, and now those stories are out there to such an extreme way. It's kind of hard to. I just don't think we'll ever get out of the cycle with Britney Spears. Like, I feel like this week we're kind of like watching her legacy burn down even more. And it's a really awful thing to watch because I don't know how she'll cycle back out of this. Not that she should. I think that woman should just be left alone. But at the same time, she's now once again.
But it's like she's left alone. It's like what it feels like a little bit. Because remember like when she got married and they just like rolled out all these celebrities to go to her wedding and like she was supported by like Drew Barrymore, Selena Gomez, Paris Hilton. Like there was all of these people there and that they've fallen away. Like obviously that was a bit of a like, hey, we're here to support her and show love for this person.
But that was when the public was so on her side. So anyone who sided with Britney then was seen as like to helping save the princess. But now that it's all messy and complicated, people don't want to, especially celebrities, don't want to be involved in that.
Yeah. And obviously like celebrities were never her closest friends, obviously, in that circumstance. They were there to show support. But it does seem from the outside in, you worry. Is she supported and who does she have when her whole family already turned against her?
I guess there's the whole thing. A few people who went to that wedding, like Drew Barrymore and Selena Gomez, did say like we'd never met Britney before. I will say like I'll give Paris Hilton her due that I think that she's being quite there in the mix.
Agree. Yeah.
She's still pictured with Britney Spears every so often. I think Britney Spears is like even being pictured going into her home and like her kids' birthdays. They've been tight for a long time. Paris Hilton has always talked really in a lovely, lovely way of Britney. And I feel like she was really on the forefront of like
that original sort of
what
downfall.
Was happening.
Yeah.
But and then at the same time there was that kind of Britney Spears outreach. Like there was that whole thing of like Kim Kardashian had a sleepover with her and Khloe and Kim were talking about on their podcast and saying like everyone thought it was so crazy, but it was like they're like, but Britney Spears' manager just called us up to have a girls' night and you guys are making it weird. And I was like, it is a little bit weird though. Like it's a little bit weird that she was the story that came out of that was that she was kind of so lonely and craving attention that she got her business manager to call Kim's business manager so that she could have a sleepover. Yeah. And obviously it was all documented for socials and stuff. Yeah. And I'm sure I had a lovely time.
Yeah. And it just all reads a little weird, I guess.
But to me, that was kind of like a real like sad, it was more of like a point of sadness and isolation for a celebrity that you have a girls' night, but it's with another famous woman that your manager connected you with and that it was kind of done for social. And I don't imagine that Britney Spears now calls Kim Kardashian when she needs something. So again, it's all it's a whole thing of everyone just dipping into the Britney Spears like train and
when it's like interesting and right for them to do it.
And then dipping back out when now tabloids are saying like she's losing her mind and needs help and everything.
Yeah. And I mean, she did post on Instagram with one of her sons recently and I'm not sure if it was like an old photo or like what was going on, but like I'd like to think that maybe those boys start to I don't know, be a support to their mum again.
I know,
if they can't. No, we don't know their dynamic. We don't know their relationship. We only know what Kevin Federline says in
his
book.
And I guess the kids have given interviews now. Well, the other thing is too that she doesn't have to pay child support for them anymore, which is kind of when they ducked back into her life. I know it's all
really concerning.
I mean, I would love to be rich and famous, except when I hear stories like this. And sometimes I think like, oh, it's just
like
not worth it.
It's just one of the biggest and worst examples of like all the ways that fame can go wrong and like where it can leave you. And I just love Britney. And I just like, I do think a lot of the discourse say around her videos, I know that sometimes they can look a bit erratic, but also you watch videos of her at 20 dancing in the studio. She's doing the same dance moves, the same stuff.
The girl just likes to dance. I do believe that's
to do
that
same kind of stuff too. But yes, like there's a lot of concerning behavior, but I'm also like, well, can someone get involved then and like help her?
Someone who's not just using her for a photo on their Instagram story. Yeah. So that's where we're at. She sold her music catalog. I'm hoping the money helps and like that's kind of like a positive step for her if she doesn't want to be in the music industry anymore. But I just hope that this whole like the next downfall of Britney Spears stops and someone steps in to help.
Yeah.